Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be a reading vlog. I have been seeing a lot of this reading vlog will end when I find a 5-star read. I wanted to put a little spin on that, and a real focus on my channel is finishing some series. I'm in the middle of almost 50. That's too many. So I put all of the book series I'm currently in the middle of on a spinner wheel, and we are going to spin a series, read the sequel, on, and this vlog will end when I read a finale. Now, I might tweak that a little bit if we are like 5-6 books in and I have caught up on a series, like there's no more books out that I could possibly read, but ideally I would like to be able to completely cross a series off of my list, and I thought doing a spinner wheel and having like a roulette style would just be a lot of fun. If you're new here, hello, my name is Emily. This is MacInnis Mama, where you will find mostly bookish content. Without further ado, we need to get rolling because not every series that I'm in the middle of I own. I may need to buy a sequel if it is a series I have been purchasing, or I may need to request books from my library. So let me pull up my Tiny Decisions app. I will be putting in a screen recording and we are going to roll for series number 1. I got His Dark Materials by Philip Pullman. This is a middle grade polar fantasy. I read The Golden Compass quite a long time ago and it's just not my favorite. There's a lot of religious themes in here, which I actually find very interesting. It's like our set of characters, the good guys versus the church. The church is doing a lot of really awful things, and it's an interesting premise, an interesting time of year to be reading a snowy polar book, but that's what we're starting off with. I did go and grab it. I have this bind up of the whole trilogy. Like I said, I read The Golden Compass, and next is The Subtle Knife. I think it's around 300 pages or so. It's hard to tell how long each book is. This is around 900 pages, so I would estimate like 300 pages-ish each. I don't know. So I'm going to pick this up and do probably not a lot of check-ins with this style vlog, but I'll definitely let you know my thoughts and feelings a quarter to a half of the way through, and then when I finish it and we need to roll for a new series. I have no idea how long this vlog is going to be. I have no idea if we're going to read 2 books or 7 books. I don't know, but I really would love to read a series finale. Hey guys, first check in for The Subtle Knife by Philip Pullman. I was actually able to pick up the audiobook for this and I'm about 25% in. I'm about to do my makeup and listen to more, so excuse my appearance, but I wanted to do a little quick check-in before listening to more. I don't know why I had a brain fart. Anyways, so this is a middle grade polar fantasy, and I feel like The Subtle Knife is quite a bit different than The Golden Compass. We still have Lyra in here, but we also have a little boy named Will now, and their paths have crossed, and they're from different worlds, and then they find themselves in a third world. So we're doing a lot of traveling around. It's very interesting. We still have the alethiometer, is that how you pronounce that Lyra has, and this magic afoot, and we're still like against the church. The church is doing awful things in here, and this is just a fun adventure. The audiobook is also really good. We have different voices and it's just really well put together, and I'm really enjoying my time listening to that. This is not like a favorite series. I've had this bind up since I was a child, and I'll probably keep it for my children to read if they ever care to. But it's just not a favorite fantasy series thus far. I could change my mind, but so far it's just full of adventure. Lyra especially is just a really fun character to follow and be in her head, because she's often she's a child. She's often confused and makes a little bit of silly decisions, and yet she's traveling worlds, getting answers. I don't know. It's just fun in that middle grade fantasy kind of feel. Now, I have $20 in points set to expire from Indigo. And with the nature of this vlog, where I'm spinning the wheel, I have no idea what series is going to be next. I may or may not own it yet, like the sequel that I need. That was very strange. I just got a message on this phone that appears to come from me. What the heck? It's saying Emily MacInnis. And then it said, like, "Are you home? Please call me." I wonder if I've been hacked. That is fun. Okay, now my heart is like beating out of my chest. What I was getting at is around the 50% mark, I think I want to spin for my second book, just in case it's one I need to purchase, and then I can use my points to purchase that book and make progress on series and yada yada, instead of purchasing a new book. There are a gazillion books that I could purchase, which are starts of series or whatever, but I'm trying to save money, and I'm going to use my points to buy the next book I need if that's what happens. Okay, now like my heart is pounding. I need to go see if I've been hacked. Super fun. Okay. Hello, good morning. It is the next day, and I've just been listening to the audiobook on and off while doing chores, or when I was getting ready yesterday, which I still have not gotten ready today, and it is lunchtime. And I just noticed that I'm at 57% of the way through The Subtle Knife, which this is flying by so quickly. The stakes have definitely amped up right now where I'm at. So 8 chapters brought me to 57%. Like, it's really not that long of a book. And I don't know, I probably won't finish it today, but maybe tomorrow. So, as I mentioned in my last check-in, around the 50% mark, I wanted to roll for my second series to continue. Alright, so I have my Tiny Decisions app, and as you know, this video is going to go until I finally cross a series off. I need to read a finale. So, The Subtle Knife is the second book in a trilogy. I have some very long series on here. I have some series that I only need to read one more book. So, let us see. Hot and Hammered. This is a contemporary romance series, or like a series of standalones. So I read Fix Her Up a long time ago, didn't even realize it was a series, but it is. And these aren't series that I necessarily tracked because I need to read the finale, but I really enjoyed Fix Her Up and did want to read the next book. And this one is Love Her or Lose Her by Tessa Bailey. So I will be getting this one out from the library. It says Rosie and Dominic Vega are the perfect couple, high school sweethearts, best friends, madly in love. Well, they used to be anyways. So I wonder if this is a marriage in trouble and they like rekindle their love. I'm not really sure, but I'm really looking forward to that, and that will be a quick read as well, and we'll be making some progress on these series. So I'm going to go place that hold at the library and then focus again on finishing this book. Hi everyone, I finally finished The Subtle Knife, the second book in the His Dark Materials trilogy. I ended up giving it 3 stars. I enjoyed my time. I really enjoyed the audiobook. It had like some cinematic elements. I find it hard to like articulate how I'm feeling about this series. Like, I'm liking it, but I'm not loving it. I don't feel like I'm super invested in the characters. Like, there's a lot of different characters doing a lot of different things, which I'm assuming, obviously, in the Amber Spyglass, the 3rd book, that everything is going to converge and come together. And I like the themes and the messaging in here, especially when it comes to religion and the church and science, but I'm still not loving it, and I can't exactly pinpoint why that is. So 3 stars. I really have no strong desire to read the Amber Spyglass anytime soon. It's a bit thicker than the other ones. All this left is the 3rd book in the trilogy. Maybe this winter I'll read it and knock it off the list, or maybe I'll just decide I don't want to finish it. I'm not really sure, but if you recall, I did spin the wheel a bit earlier. I did get Love Her or Lose Her by Tessa Bailey, which I forget what the series was called. Fix Her Up was the first one. They're like interconnected standalones, so I don't need to reread Fix Her Up or anything. But this is a marriage in trouble, I'm pretty sure, which I don't think I have read anything like that. It says Rosie and Dominic Vega are the perfect couple, high school sweethearts, best friends, madly in love. Well, they used to be anyways. And I'm really curious because Tessa Bailey writes rom-coms. They're usually a bit lighter, fluffier, funny, and I do enjoy that a lot. So I'm wondering how this is going to be handled. Being a marriage in trouble. I've read second chance romances, but never from people who were married or are married. So I'm wondering how they will rekindle their love. I don't know. I just think that could be interesting. So I will check in around the 50% mark and see how I'm making on with this. It is from the library. Wow. I just opened this up. It doesn't say it's large print on the spine, but like, I don't know if you can tell. The font in here is absolutely massive. It's just over 300 pages, so I'm sure I will read this really quickly. Hey guys, really quick check-in. Excuse the lighting, excuse the background. Also, it's too low. I wanted to check in on Love Her or Lose Her before I got too far. At the very beginning of this book, Rosie just decides that she's had enough. Dominic is struggling since returning home from the war. He is a veteran and he is very quiet, and they are discovering that they have very different love languages, which they are now sorting through in couples therapy. And I'm just loving all of this. Like, I feel like I've never read a marriage in trouble. I've never read a romance book that involves couples therapy, and now they're going to an unconventional therapist, which just makes it more fun. Dominic does acts of servitude. He's very quiet. He doesn't like to talk, but he will warm her car up when it's cold, brings her a coat, without saying, he would hide it behind other people's coats. He thinks providing for his family, as his dad did, is the most important thing. Rosie is sick of coming home to a completely quiet house. They don't speak. They still have a very passionate love life, if you know what I mean, but it's starting to feel like just sex. That's it. And she is needing more. He doesn't talk to her. He doesn't feel in tune with her dreams. She's hiding her dreams in ads under the mattress, which she now discovers that he has known about and just hasn't communicated with her. He's having secrets. She has secrets. And we're working on rebuilding this marriage together. And I'm having a great time. Are they both biracial? I think Dominic is Puerto Rican but grew up in the Bronx, and Rosie is half Argentinian, half African American. So there's also some cultural representation and like how their mixed cultural household plays a part. Rosie wants to open a restaurant and cook Argentinian food to make her mother proud, but is stuck in working in a department store. And Dominic has been working overtime but not saying anything and not like updating Rosie on like what he's doing, where he's at, and then hiding the extra money from her for a good reason, but he's keeping these things a secret for reasons. I'm actually loving this. I'm not gonna say it's like I'm feeling like it's gonna be my favorite romance. Fix Her Up was more fun than this one is, but this one is feeling kind of like a self-help book for me. I don't know. It's just giving ideas of people who have been a bit stagnant, who still really love each other, who are lacking communication, a couple with two very different love languages, learning to show the other person love in the way that's important to them, and different ideas on reconnecting and reopening those communication lines when you're trying to fix the marriage, not just, I don't want to say go the easy route of divorce, because I don't believe that that's the easy route, but like at the very beginning of the book, Rosie like, I've had enough, packs a bag, and she's gone. So we had that split, and they're still living in separate places, but they're doing couples therapy and working through some things, and you can still feel the love they have for each other, but they're both keeping secrets where I'm at right now, which is the start of chapter 13, page 144. There's like 350 pages. I wanted to check it earlier than this, but I've just been reading it so quickly and having a great time. I have finished Love Her or Lose Her by Tessa Bailey, and I ended up giving this 3 stars. I really was enjoying this for the first probably 60-70%, but we always had, like, we knew what the third act conflict was going to be, because Dominic had this secret that we as the reader knew about, and we were just like waiting for Rosie to find out. And it literally happens right at the very end, and it should have happened much sooner, and we should have worked through the conflict a bit better. Like, it really affected my enjoyment of this book, so I ended up giving it 3 stars. It was a fun time. I really liked the representation of like a marriage in trouble. I feel like I don't see that as much or see it done well. Just that last conflict was resolved. It didn't even turn really into a conflict, and it definitely should have, in my opinion. But I am now ready to spin my wheel for the next book series I'm going to be continuing. As you know, this vlog is going to keep going until I read a series finale. So let's spin the wheel. I also don't want to necessarily repeat series. So that is like what I literally just read. I don't want to read the next book in this series right now. And that's the one we read first. What is going on? Maybe I should black those out. The Sacred Stones, that book's not out yet. The release got delayed from when I've made this wheel. I might have to... Oh no. Okay, that says Lord of the Rings. I read The Hobbit. I've never read the core series. Oh god. The next series I need to continue, Lord of the Rings. This is a very intimidating classic fantasy series that is kind of like on my lifetime TBR, if you will. It was a birthday gift from my grampy. This is 530 pages. I might try and get the audiobook from my library. I don't know. This is good because I was not going to pick this up anytime soon, and this vlog is going to force me to read it. I'm going to update my wheel as well for next time, but oh dear. Hey guys, really quick check-in for this reading vlog. I have started The Fellowship of the Ring by J.R.R. Tolkien. I'm 2.5 hours into the audiobook, and that's like 60 pages of this book. I'm really struggling. It feels like such a slog and nothing has happened at all. So I still have like 450 plus pages to go, but it's my birthday in a few days at the time I'm filming this clip, and I have a birthday discount at the bookstore, so just in case it's a series I need to purchase the next book, and also I need some motivation and a book to be excited about to read after this one, I'm actually going to roll for the fourth book for this reading vlog, and maybe if I'm really lucky it will be a finale, but maybe it will just be a book that I'm really excited about. I don't know. Again, I'm not going to repeat series that have already been in here, even though I haven't finished it. We're just gonna keep going. So the fourth series that the wheel is giving me is Nevernight. So I need to read Godsgrave. That's good, but not a finale. Nor is it a book that I need to purchase. I have free reign to get whatever book I want with my discount. That is good. Okay, I'm psyching myself up. I'm more excited about that series than this one. I can get through it. I can do it. The audiobook is definitely helping versus reading it physically. I knew going into this that J.R.R. Tolkien's writing is very descriptive and meandering, slow. I have read Game of Thrones, so I'm very used to descriptive fantasy. But boy, oh boy, this is taking a lot out of me right now, and I'm so happy that I rolled my fourth book because I am excited to get to Nevernight, and it's definitely the motivation I needed, but like I've already said, it's still not a finale. This reading vlog has been going on for so long. I need to make progress on it, and I need to get it up on my YouTube channel. So man, I really hope that the fifth book is an actual finale, but I need to make more progress on this first. Hello, long time no see for this reading vlog. I have been filming this vlog for months, you guys, but I have finally finished The Fellowship of the Ring. This took me forever. I tried the audiobook, it was still a slog. It got returned to the library. I'm back at the bottom of the wait list. I since canceled the hold and finished this book. I gave this 2.5 stars to be nice. There is a quote in this that I would like to read to you that is within my Goodreads review of this book. So within this book, The Fellowship of the Ring, there's actually book 1 and book 2 for the Lord of the Rings series. And in book 2, chapter 2, which is called The Council of Elrond, there's a direct quote that says, "Many words and few to the point." And that pretty much sums up this entire book, doesn't it? I literally fell asleep on the couch consistently while reading this, whether I was trying to read it at 10 p.m. or at 2 in the afternoon. this book would literally put me to sleep. There were very few scenes in here that I was fully engaged and flying through. Other than that, like, someone on TikTok tried to tell me that, like, maybe I'm just not, I don't know if they were trying to say, like, I'm not smart enough for The Lord of the Rings, and maybe that's true, but I have read Game of Thrones and I was invested in those books. Like, I can read dense, epic fantasy, but Game of Thrones, I loved every second of all of those books. This one was a slog. I read adult fantasy and I did not like this. There were so many convoluted details. Like George R. R. Martin in Game of Thrones, there's a lot of unnecessary details, but this was even more so. This was, we're going on a journey. Oh, I see mountains. And then the next, like, God knows how many pages is like a detailed history and the names of all of the mountains in this mountain range way yonder that they're not even going to. Why? Okay, all that's to say is I am now supremely excited to dive into Godsgrave. I've had this on my shelf for a really long time. I absolutely loved Nevernight by J. Kristoff, the first book in the Nevernight Chronicles. We are following Mia Corvair in the first book, where she goes to an assassin's school. It was much more brutal than I was expecting, but in a good way. Like, I thought the series was YA. I would not call this series YA at all. I would call this adult fantasy, and I'm excited to continue with this series. I think it's going to be a breath of fresh air after Lord of the Rings. Okay, you guys, I have finally gotten to Godsgrave by J. Kristoff. I did reread Nevernight because it had been so many years. I wanted to just refresh myself before going into this book for this video, or else it would have just been like, I'm lost, I have no idea what's happening. However, even though I reread Nevernight, give it 5 stars again, by the way. That book is so good. I'm still kind of lost. I am on page 122. This book is 430-ish pages. This is dual timeline, but much different than Nevernight was. We had kind of flashbacks sporadically through Nevernight, but this is like 2 completely different timelines with a couple of months in between. With 4 months in between. So we're following something that is going on, and then also 4 months earlier, and I have no idea on how these timelines are going to kind of come together. Like, they seem like 2, I'm not going to spoil anything for the previous books, as I have mentioned throughout this vlog, but it's almost like 2 different missions kind of going on at the same time, and the way it's done I'm not loving. The 4 months earlier timeline also has a different font, and the font for 4 months earlier hurts my eyeballs. I don't know why. I don't know. In small bits, it's fine, but for pages upon pages, I find it's hurting my eyes. I'm such a grandma. And each chapter contains both timelines, and depending on how it all comes together, of course, just how I'm feeling right now, I'm wishing that we just were 4 months earlier, followed that through, and then the present timeline is like the second bit of the book. Like, why are we doing two different missions at the same time within this book? Also, I feel like it kind of cheapens the stakes of the 4 months earlier timeline, because obviously we know she's perfectly fine 4 months later. You know what I mean? Obviously this is a full trilogy series. Like, we know our main character is going to be fine, or else how would there be more books? But I don't know if I'm making any sense. I'm a bit lost, and I wasn't expecting to be, because I just reread Nevernight before picking this up so that I was ready. I will let you know maybe at the 50% mark if things are coming together, but right now I'm a bit confused. Hey guys, I'm now over halfway through Godsgrave, and the problems I had in the first bit have been resolved. We no longer have those two timelines because things did converge for me, but I'm still not loving this as much as I loved the first book in the series, Nevernight. We're missing that academic setting that I really enjoyed, although she is still training. I don't want to give any spoilers, but it could come together in a really amazing way. I'm still really enjoying this book, just not as obsessed with it as the first book. I feel like what she's training for / with is taking a long time, and there's less variety that we got within the academic setting and all of the different like subjects from the first book. It's really hard to explain problems you're having with a sequel, but this is not giving 5-star feels, whereas the first book in this series very much was. It was breakneck speed, super brutal, and I was loving all of the characters. I feel less of an attachment to the side characters we're getting in this book than what I felt for the side characters present in the first book. Still really enjoying it though. I just finished this. Speechless. I'm giving it 4.25 stars. There were so many twists in the latter part of this book I was not expecting. And there are still so many loose ends to tie up in the finale. I'm so excited to get to it. But I'm also a little worried for it. I feel like this book was longer than it needed to be for what it achieved. And yet, once we got, 150 pages in, I was in it. And I really enjoyed it. It is still brutal and bloody and dark, just like the first book was. But we still have a lot to resolve in the finale. And can J. Kristoff do it? The little ending bit, I won't read the whole thing because I don't want to spoil anything, but it says, "No. I hear you say the word as if I sat in the room beside you. I see you bent over the tome in your hand with a frown on your face and a curse on your lips, as if I were puddled in the shadow at your feet. The realization that there are no more pages is sinking in now. I hear it. I see it. No, you say again. And that has a little bit of spoilers after that, but that's exactly how I feel. I got to the last page and I was like, wait. It was so good. 4.25 stars. So good. I'm really happy that I read this. Okay. I think I'm going to do only one more book for this vlog because this is taking me so unbelievably long. Okay, guys, I am fully aware that this is going to be kind of cheating for the idea I had in mind for this video. We've read 4 series sequels that the wheel has chosen for me throughout this video, and I absolutely love this. I realized that I want to keep doing this vlog idea to continue to knock series off of my list. However, this video has taken months and months because the Fellowship of the Ring sucked the soul out of me. My God, that took me so long. I've already talked about it in this video, so I'm not going to go on and on about it, but we've now read 4, and I've decided 5 books, is a good number for a reading vlog, and that is what I'm going to cap this at. So I have, instead of my full wheel with like 50 plus series on it, I have made a new wheel with, can you see that? Series finales. There we go. This is literally the last book in a series, like an actual series finale, but also series that I have to read one more book to be caught up with the releases. For example, Iron Flame is on here, and I think there's 1 or 2 other books like that where it will move my series from I have one more book to read down to series I'm caught up on. So it won't reduce the number of series I'm in the middle of, but I will still feel good about that because there are 12 series here that I only have one more book to read to either say it's officially complete or move it down to the series I'm caught up on. And I also just want to get this video out to you because it's been taking so stinking long, and I just don't want to have this take me months and months, but also be a video that's like over an hour long. I don't want to edit that. You don't want to watch that. So we're going to spin for our 5th book. I'm kind of cheating because it's not entirely roulette, but there are 12 options here, and this is what we're going to do. Let's spin and see what we get. Bloodmarked by Tracy Deonn. So this is one of the 2 that I read Legendborn twice actually, and Bloodmarked is the next one, but there will be a 3rd book, but it is not out yet. So once I read Bloodmarked, it moves down into the section of my spreadsheet of series I'm caught up on, but I'm really looking forward to reading this. Let me go grab it. Here is Bloodmarked by Tracy Deonn. This is a YA fantasy series. It's a King Arthur retelling, and like I said, I have read Legendborn twice, really enjoyed it. This is quite a chunky book. It's over 500 pages, but I'm really excited to read it. It's an interesting magic system, and because it's YA, I think I'll read it relatively quickly. So this will be the last book I'm reading in this reading vlog. Good morning. I have finally made it to the last book of this reading vlog. Man, this has taken me so long. I have started Bloodmarked by Tracy Deonn. I'm 100 something pages in. I've read 10 chapters. I also got the audiobook, which I'm not enjoying as much, so I'm only listening to that when I have to. Like if I have time to actually sit and read, I'm preferring to read it physically. Not that the audiobook is done poorly. I don't know. I'm not loving the audiobook. I'm not liking this as much as I liked Legendborn. And I don't want to spoil anything, which has been, you know, a theme within this vlog, as it's kind of hard to talk about sequels. Our main character, Bree, is very hot-headed, and in the first book, that was better portrayed as she can stand up for herself, she's very independent, she doesn't let people, you know, run over her in any way. Like, she is a strong female main character. Loved that. In this book, she is still hot-headed, but in a way that is putting herself and others in danger, because she's not listening to people who know better than her. I'm trying to keep it vague, so I'm going to leave it there. She is very young. She was 16 in the first book, so she might be like even still 16 or 17, I don't know. And she still is feeling like she knows best, and she really doesn't, and I just don't love that. That is a popular, is that the right word? A common thing in YA fantasy, though, that I don't enjoy. I still really love YA fantasy a lot of the time, but when a young character constantly thinks they know best, I'm just sitting here thinking, as an older woman who has like a teenage son, for example, it reminds me of like when my teenage son thinks that he knows more than me about a certain situation and he really doesn't. So reading this with an adult lens, that's how I'm feeling. But the plot in here is really interesting. I'm excited to see where it's going. I'm now over 400 pages into Bloodmarked and still having a lot of the issues I already talked about. She's acting like she should make all of the decisions when she doesn't have all of the information, and certainly not the experience, and it's really bothering me. Also in this book, again, no spoilers, they are most certainly on the run, and each little pit stop they're making, there is like action sequence, all of this to keep it a little more engaging, but they keep connecting with these different people, and all these people are just a device to info dump another bit of the world building and explanations, if that makes sense. Like, each person they meet has a different piece of the puzzle, and I just don't feel like it's flowing that well. I'm 400 pages in, and the actual plot of this book has not gone very far outside of the first little bit, because they're on the run and we just keep learning more and more things. This book is definitely having middle book syndrome, and I don't know, and I hate being so negative. And I had a peek at the Goodreads reviews, and almost all of my mutuals gave this like 5 stars, and I really don't get it. I really don't get it. The magic is cool, the King Arthur elements of this like retelling, they're cool. The first book, the discussions on slavery and especially the discussions on grief, I absolutely loved. And in this one, there's a lot of conflict around race, which is very valuable representation. I don't want to spoil anything, but it's so hard to discuss at any length a sequel and the problems I'm having with the sequel versus loving the first book. I've officially finished Bloodmarked. I'm sorry that you're going to be able to hear the kids. It's bedtime craziness right now and the dishwasher is running, but I really want to film the final clip for this vlog. I'm ended up giving this book like a 2.5 or 2.75 stars. A lot of what my thoughts are I have mentioned to you across this journey reading this book, but I'm just going to recap it for you. But as I'm sure you've gathered, this sequel was a bit of a disappointment for me, and especially because I absolutely loved Legendborn, the first book. Like, I read that twice. I had such a good time reading it that I wanted to reread it before jumping into this sequel. Legendborn had such amazing elements of discussion on slavery and race, along with grief as Bree navigates life after her mother passes away. But in this one, only some of those elements kind of carried through into this book. There was still a lot of discussion on race, microaggressions, heritage, lots of big topics like that. But what didn't work for me was setting those societal commentary pieces aside, which I absolutely loved those parts of this book. As a fantasy novel, as a fantasy sequel, there's a lot of things that just wasn't working for me. Bree being a 16-year-old who was thrust into a world completely unknown to her in the first book, and still not having a great understanding of the big picture of the magic system, all of these things, and her struggling with these other more experienced members of the Legendborn not following her and her thoughts and her orders. And then a lot of that was through the lens of, well, most of these people are white and they don't want to listen to me because I'm black, which there were definitely racist characters in here for sure. There was definitely a lot of microaggressions. There was definitely a lot of just outward, blatant, disgusting racism. But me reading this, I felt like a lot of the time they weren't listening to you because you're a 16-year-old girl who doesn't know what's going on, and you're making the wrong decision and should listen to people who know more of the situation at hand. As an adult reading this, I just felt like, of course, the adults are not listening to you. You're 16 years old. The on-the-run plot structure, I know I already mentioned this as well, for the purpose of like meeting or gathering up these individuals along the road who then have like a different piece of the puzzle, more information, and each time it was done, it felt very clunky, very info dumpy to me, and it also just got repetitive because that happened for a large portion of the middle of this book. And that whole on-the-run journey, which lasted hundreds and hundreds of pages, did not move the plot of this book or like the overall plot arc of the series forward enough compared to other fantasy books I've read. I don't mind an on-the-run traveling sequence book, as long as it's moving the plot forward a little bit better than I felt it was doing in here. I feel like the ether and root magic systems don't have enough limitations. Like, I felt like I had a good grasp on what they were capable of, and then all of a sudden we were flying, or it just kept expanding, and not in a way that felt like a developmental piece. She was learning to do more things. It just was a convenience thing. Like, of course our magic can help us do this. And now I just don't know where the plot of the series is going. I felt like I knew in book 1, and now I feel like it's much different in book 2, and there was a huge, shocking reveal in the very last chapter that I felt like came out of complete nowhere. And the only purpose of that was it sets up a different plot again for book 3. I'm so sad that I didn't like this book. I feel like I'm shitting all over it, and I apologize. And so many of my mutuals gave this 5 stars, so maybe it's just a me thing, but I don't know if I should read the 3rd book that comes out in 2025. Is it worth it for me to do that? What are your thoughts? Or was the point of this vlog successful in the end because I am done with the series and crossing it off my list? I still don't know. I just feel like this book was not as well executed as the 1st book. It definitely had middle book syndrome, and part of me really hopes that that is fixed for the 3rd book, but I'm also scared that maybe it won't. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. But having finally finished this book means that we are done 5 series continuations for this reading vlog. This technically is not a finale, but the next book is not out. I completely failed with the intention behind this vlog, but I will be having more series content coming. I have one planned that's going to include 6 books, which is the one that will be coming up next in this series for series, if you will. But if you did enjoy today's reading vlog, don't forget to give it a thumbs up so that I know, and I will see you in my next one. Bye! Bye. You're so annoying.